Alright guys, welcome in. I'm the Kodiak, and you saw the title of this video. I am not trolling. I'm not trolling, and it is time for a flag plant. I was basically forced to make this video, and when I say forced, it's not like somebody else was telling me, hey, you need to make a video saying Troy Franklin's going to go for 1,100 yards. But all the people I know, all the people I talk to in the Broncos community, all the people that I know in person who actually watch my stuff, because I have friends who actually watch my stuff, they say I need to make a video on this. And you know what? Here we go. Because, whether or not I want to talk about if we want to sign Deebo Samuel, if we want to sign Cooper Kupp, if we want to sign T. Higgins, if we want to sign Godwin, whoever, why not talk about the guys that we have on our team for a change? Because, honestly, that's something that we haven't done a lot yet this offseason. I know that that's something that usually waits until like May or June, but why don't we start early on that? And listen, I'm throwing my credibility out here in a huge way because, yes, I'm not the biggest Broncos channel, but, sometimes you got to let your nuts hang, and that's what I'm going to do in this video. And I understand that this could age laughably bad, but here we go. Why not? Balls to the wall. Troy Franklin is going for 1,100 yards next year. You heard it here first on the Kodiak Broncos podcast. So let's talk about Troy Franklin. I've shared the sentiment since the season began. It is okay to be disappointed with what we saw from him his rookie year. He was a fourth-round pick for a reason. People were saying that he was a late first, early second-round talent, but, NFL teams clearly, by draft capital, they viewed him as a fourth-round guy. Multiple teams passed on him. Every team actually passed on him multiple times. A lot of people were excited about him because he was being mocked late first, early second range. And yes, while I respect the fact that well-connected industry people were able to put him there in their mock drafts or whatever, early second to New England, that's one we saw very commonly. That does not mean that he is that kind of player. And I think Broncos country and their expectations needed to be adjusted after Troy Franklin got drafted. But also, if he hauls in literally one or two more passes, if he hauls in that pass against the Raiders, if he hauls in that really long throw against the Buccaneers earlier on this year, if he hauls in, the overtime misfire against the Bengals, if he hauls in any of those, granted, not all those were on him, some of those were on Bo too, but if he hauls in literally any of those, at least one of those, the tune about his rookie season is a lot different. But the groundwork is there for him to go to 1,100 yards. Like, in my opinion, I think everything is there. I think he's going to be on the field quite a bit. I think, obviously we have our franchise quarterback who can support a season like that. And I think that his role in the offense is going to hold up relatively well, simply because I don't think there's any player more than Bo Nix that benefits from, the upgrades that we're going to make this offseason. And, I also see him as a carbon copy to one of the most productive wide receivers ever, who is not himself. Like, he is, I actually don't know if he's still in the league anymore, but, we haven't seen him play productive football in a while, but you'll find out who this is towards the end of the video. And we are going to watch some film towards the end, and yeah. So here's what we have to realize about Troy Franklin. So if you look at the right, this was his 2023 year at Oregon, and on the left was his 2024 year with the Broncos and his rookie season in the NFL. He did a lot of his best work in college football between the hashes. Now, obviously, there's some, deep ball stuff that he did really well in college, and I don't even want to talk about the outside left numbers in the NFL. But you look at his production between the hashes, and that's basically his role. His role is going to be an intermediate pass catcher, and I know that we need a lot of other respectable weapons to, kind of unlock him in that role. And a lot of his role this year was either run deep or screens or whatever. But the ability to have a run game, the ability to add a legit tight end to where Troy Franklin is not the only legitimate middle of the field weapon, is going to do absolute wonders for this team as well. So, and one thing I did want to mention is that Troy Franklin is an elite separator. And I'm going to show you a graph that proves that later on. But, Troy Franklin, his best role in this offense is going to be the real wide receiver who can separate, who can absolutely dust corners and leave them chasing him, downfield. Besides Bo Nix, I've shared the sentiment, no one will benefit more from the upgraded offense. We had minimal middle of field production this year. We had basically no intermediate passing game. And it was absolutely laughable what our passing game looked like at some points this year, because we really couldn't do a whole lot besides throw short or throw deep. We didn't have a run game either. And all those will be fixed this upcoming offseason, or at least we are going to try to fix it. And the ability to just have a guy who can actually hit the hole at the running back position, or a tight end who can actually catch over the middle of the field and run faster than a 5.5 40-yard dash, that is going to do a lot of good for this offense. But I think it's going to unleash Troy Franklin. I truly do. I truly think that, Troy Franklin, his best work this past year was, attacking between the hashes in the intermediate part of the field. And ultimately, that's what we're going to get from Troy Franklin this year. He is going to play a possession role for this team. And just talking about his role in general, Cortland Sutton, his ex role is safe for the year. Like, he's a pure outside guy. Mims, he's not really a real wide receiver yet. He's still like that Diet Debo type where we can line him up in the backfield. And yes, he can run deep, but still, short routes, intermediate routes, he can't do that yet as well. Vele, he's just a pure slot. He can make the tough catch like he is Tim Patrick Jr., but the difference between him and Tim Patrick is Tim Patrick was a boundary guy, and Vele is going in the slot. But I think that Troy Franklin, being a guy who can work over the middle of the field, who lines up on the boundary mostly, he lined up in the boundary 66% of his snaps this year, and he lined up in the slot 34%. I think as a guy who splits time and does his best work in the middle of the field, he will be a natural beneficiary. And listen, the Broncos, they're not going to have to run as many screens this year. They're not going to have to, use screens to supplement the fact that they have zero run game. And I think that those are going to open up middle of field opportunities and honestly more deep opportunities for this offense. And we have a quarterback who can really, really shine with the deep ball as well. But just talking about Troy Franklin, the best clips I'm going to show you of his rookie year were all in the intermediate game. So I'm also very confident that he'll be an every down wide receiver. I know that there are some clips that people are going to point to where he doesn't give the best effort, but in my opinion, those are few and far between. I know a lot of people are going to talk about the wild card game, but he tries. He tries really, really hard, and he's a great character guy in the building. Granted, you need to do a little bit more to just actually get on the field and get an every down role, but I think he has the height, weight, speed combo to win on early down situations. Does he need to add some strength? Sure. I won't deny that whatsoever, but there's just no way that this coaching staff, even with how many frustrations there were as a fan base that we saw, does not love him. And what does that mean? Well, it doesn't mean that he's going to be on the field 100% of the time, but there's not going to be any more training wheels, and don't underestimate the fact that he's not going to be, given those training wheels anymore. Don't underestimate the fact that they're going to task him with more things that, honestly, he did a lot of things at Oregon that we have not seen this year in the NFL, like the, deeper intermediate game. That really wasn't a part of his repertoire this year as much as it was in Oregon. I want to see him run more post routes. I want to see him run, just a little bit more deep stuff. And, I know his ball tracking was not the greatest, but he has a full offseason to refine what was missing his rookie year. And honestly, I think that there's no better mentor than Sean Payton. And the fact that he has chemistry with his college quarterback is going to take him a long way and get him a lot of leeway for these things, because he's a full offseason to refine his consistency, his route running, and gain more chemistry with Bo Nix, as well as deep ball tracking, which is a huge thing that was lacking from his game. All those were huge things that were lacking from his game this past year. So when I watched Troy Franklin, and we're going to get into some clips here very, very soon, he reminds me of another dude who went absolutely nuts in the NFL. So I see a lot of Michael Thomas in his game. Not to say that he is or will be as good as Michael Thomas or as productive as Michael Thomas, because he was one of the most highly productive wide receivers in the NFL for his first 4 years. And then, it all kind of went downhill as soon as he got that ankle injury. But Michael Thomas was very similar to Troy Franklin in that he was not after yards after catch or, high point guy either. But he was a great separator. And that is one thing I have not talked about yet. Troy Franklin, as far as company, was one of the best separators in the NFL. If you look at this chart that I'm actually going to throw on the screen right now, this is actually an insane spot to be in on this whole graph here, because it shows that he had no catch point or yak ability, but he basically, he could separate with the rest of them. Neighbors, Addison, as far as the company that he's in on the x-axis. But if I can see this comparison, I bet you that Sean Payton will too. And without further ado, let's get into some clips, because I know you guys have been waiting for a little bit. So yeah, let's watch them. All right, so my face cam is now in the bottom left-hand corner of the screen, and one of my favorite things about Troy Franklin are these few clips right here where he's just able to attack the soft spot in between defenses. And honestly, we have no other wide receiver that can do this. Yes, Valet can get open, but can he turn up field? Like, does he have the ability to actually turn up field? I think Valet is actually more of a possession guy than Troy Franklin is. But yeah, I kind of messed up my cut there. But watch Troy Franklin at the bottom of the screen right next to my face cam. Just absolutely surgical, the work he does on Marlon Humphrey and being able to walk past Roquan Smith and find the soft spot in between the defense. And hey, he does that 55 times next year. That is 1,100 yards because that was a 20-yard gain. So yeah, once again, just absolutely surgical the way he was able to find his way through there. This is another one where he does a really nice job against the Chargers at just turning upfield and being able to, fight for every yard. Once again, that's something the staff is going to love. So we have some Michael Thomas here. You'll notice that Michael Thomas makes a heck of a catch, and he does a lot of the same things in attacking the defenses that Troy Franklin does. So I know that these clips are few and far between, and I had to, go back to the middle. But this is actually an option route. I want to hone in on this one because I think this one's really cool to talk about. So Michael Thomas is up here, and you'll notice that when I pause it right here, he's basically trying to read the leverage of the inside linebackers, and he can see that, this dude took a step back, and it looks like that the linebacker right here is playing a little flat as well. So he's going to fake like he's running I don't even know what he's faking like he's running, but he's going to eventually just stop right here. And this is a way that I think, in Sean Payton's offense, Michael Thomas is going to be utilized as well. So yeah, just able to find the first down. And once again, that's just an example of things that we are going to see. Now, I do apologize. I don't have more Michael Thomas to show you because NFL Film Room only goes back to 2022. And, I don't have clips of the Michael Thomas that we saw take over the NFL. But yeah, all these little clips, it just shows a glimpse of what is coming. It's, obviously I know all those clips weren't him just absolutely mossing DBs and, having insane yak or anything like that. But I imagine he'll be our elite chain mover possession guy next year. So yeah, I hope you guys have enjoyed watching me talk about this. Leave a like if you did, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.